IELTS Listening, version 18144. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You will hear a woman asking an agent about rented accommodation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning. How can I help you?
I'm interested in renting somewhere to live in town and was wondering what you had available.
Excellent. I'll just need to find out a bit more about what you're looking for, and then we can see what we've got. So, your name is?
Anna Black.
Good, got that.
The woman's name is Anna Black, so Anna Black has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good morning. How can I help you?
I'm interested in renting somewhere to live in town and was wondering what you had available.
Excellent. I'll just need to find out a bit more about what you're looking for, and then we can see what we've got. So, your name is?
Anna Black.
Good, got that. And what sort of accommodation are you looking for, ideally?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be possible, but ideally a house. I live in a flat at the moment and I've got really noisy neighbours. That's the reason I want to move.
Oh dear. And I'm afraid most of the accommodation for rent in the city centre is flats. Would you be prepared to look elsewhere? There are a lot of nice properties in the southeast.
Oh yes, that would be really convenient for me. Quite a few of my friends are there and it would be really close to my work.
And there's more chance of finding what you're after there. I take it you'd be looking for a furnished place, would you?
Yes, and I know it's not always included, but I'd like to have a washing machine. I hate going to laundrettes, and if I'm a bit further out of the city, it might be a problem to find one.
I'll see what I can do. Now, how long would you need the property for, bearing in mind that the minimum is 6 months?
1 year. I don't want to chop and change too often, and that'd give me the chance to see how things work out. And then I could reassess the situation after that.
And when would you like to move in?
I've got to be out of my present place by the 30th of April. Then I'm going to visit my parents for a couple of weeks, so let's say 15th of May.
And what's your current address? I'd better make a note of that for our files, and I'll put that you're there only until the end of April.
56 Stone Street.
And is there a phone number I can get you on?
Yes. The best one to use is my mobile, and that's 07942 326 584.
Now, of course, we'll need a reference before we're able to proceed with any contract. Who would be able to supply you with a reference?
I'm pretty sure my employer will do that for me. I don't really know my doctor or anyone like that here.
Good. Now, let's see what we've got that might suit you. Oh, first, how much are you looking to pay?
I'm paying £650 a month at the moment, and the most I can go to is £675. I really can't go over that.
That shouldn't be any problem. It's a realistic figure. And can I ask what it is you do for a living?
Since I came here, I've been working for various bodies within the city as a translator. You know, for the police and the hospital.
OK, good.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Now, if we do find something, we'll need to check your ID. So we'll need to see your passport. And, of course, to do the credit check, we'll need to see a bank statement in order to complete all the paperwork.
No problem. I can bring those in tomorrow.
Good. Now, we've got a small house to rent that I think might be just what you're looking for. 33 Ainsworth Street. That's AINSWORTH Street. Here are the details.
This looks great. Right size, right price?
Well, I could arrange for you to view it on Saturday around 4 p.m. if that's convenient.
Sounds good. I can't see any mention of a telephone in the details, though. I'd need that.
I'll look into that. And I can double-check when we're at the property.
And, sorry, there's another thing. Do you happen to know if there's a bus stop reasonably close to the house so that I can get around easily?
Again, if I can't find out before Saturday, I'll check it out when we're there.
OK. So I'll drop by tomorrow with those papers you need and then see you at the property Saturday at 4 p.m.
Excellent.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 3.
Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You will hear a radio program about singing in a choir. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15. And for our regular spot on things to do in town, here's our reporter Samuel Cooper. It's been fun to write about joining some of our local choirs.
Thank you. Well, feeling a bit apprehensive about my ability to sing in tune, I recently headed off for rehearsals at the town's 3 biggest choirs: Mitchell's Town Choir, the Black Bell Male Voice Choir, and the Caroline Singers. I received a very warm welcome at all 3 choirs. They are always on the lookout for new and enthusiastic singers. Now, obviously deciding which choir to join will depend to some extent on your taste in music. Black Bell caters for most musical taste as it has a hugely varied repertoire, as does Mitchellstown. If you're after a more classical feel, the Caroline Singers tend to focus on madrigals, that's unaccompanied singing without any instruments. If you want to meet people who share an interest in music, Mitchell's Town Choir is a good place to start. Apart from their own performances, they also arrange group visits to see operas and attend music festivals. So it can be a great way to make friends. But it's not just a chance to develop a skill, travel, or make friends that's on offer. You could win a gold medal too. Mitchellstown are hoping to get to the final at the Melody competition in Atlanta. And Black Bell are the current holders of the Countermail Voice Choir Award, which was presented to them by the director of the London Opera just last month. You can also be a part of a recording deal. Mitchellstown has just joined Black Bell and Caroline Singers as recording artists for their first CD, due in shops in December. And if all of that isn't enough, you can also benefit the local community by helping to raise funds for good causes. Mitchellstown regularly performs at functions helping the disabled and the elderly, while Black Bell donates a percentage of its profits to certain local charities.
Before you hear the rest of the program, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
You may feel unable to join a choir because you're worried you'd struggle to find the time to attend rehearsals because of work or family commitments. Well, there is a solution to that. Start your own choir at work. This has been done in companies large and small, and I went to find out about the one at the accountant's John White. The choir's organizer, Elizabeth Arnold, told me the reason she thinks people like the choir. She said that while the thought of a big networking opportunities might be at the back of some people's mind, it's having the opportunity to switch off and focus on something completely different, that they're after. The people that join tend to be fairly competent singers to start with because, naturally enough, people don't want to look bad in front of their colleagues. Companies like John White encourage their employees to set up choirs at work because it can help to create a healthier working atmosphere. For example, people who previously didn't get on can find they have something in common, which is just common sense, really. Elizabeth Arnold also stresses that you don't need a lot of people to get the choir off the ground. They started off 4 years ago with just 5 people. That's now risen to 19, while their average attendance at rehearsals is 12. Many people don't have time to go to rehearsals outside work. However, they find the time to go to them while they're at work. At John White, they found the middle of the day works best because not everyone works the same hours. So, scheduling early morning rehearsals can be problematic. The same is true for late afternoon. Supporting their choir is something that John White are very happy to do. Although members pay a joining fee to cover the cost of refreshments at parties and wear special concert shirts, the company organizes regular sessions with a professional vocal coach free of charge to members of the choir. So, if you'd like more information about the choirs...
That is the end of Section 2. You now have half a
Section
minute
3.
to check your answers.
You will hear 2 environmental studies students called Jennifer and Adam comparing their research on pigeons. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25 on page 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Adam, are you ready to compare notes for our presentation on pigeons for next week?
Yes, I think so. I found some really good sources describing all the different kinds of pigeons for the background section.
Me too. I knew they were a common bird, but didn't realise there were so many types. I found an interesting new study on the Australian crested pigeon. It makes a special sound to warn the rest of the flock of danger.
But a lot of birds use calls or songs to find a mate or to sound the alarm. What's special about this one?
Well, it uses its wings.
Really?
Yes, if the pigeon is startled, it makes a whistling sound when it flies off. This sound warns other pigeons in the flock that there's danger.
Interesting. I found a lot of stuff on the rock pigeons. They're the ones with the widest distribution.
Of all the pigeon species, they've been the most successful at adapting to different environments, haven't they? In contrast to the rock pigeon, there's a pigeon in the north of Australia, the black-banded pigeon, which is restricted to one very small patch of forest. Another interesting thing about it is that unlike the typical pigeons we see on pavements and roads, it stays way up in the trees in the rainforest.
That's unusual. They're varied in terms of diet as well. The Galapagos pigeon, for example, gets all its nutrients from this one kind of cactus that grows on the island where it lives.
Really? So is there anything that pigeons can't eat?
Yes, actually. They should stay away from meat because it contains bacteria that is dangerous to them.
Oh, right. You know, I thought pigeons all looked the same, but their plumage is really variable too. The Nicobar pigeon from Indonesia is very attractive. It has beautiful metallic green feathers.
It's a wonder they're not hunted.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30 on page 6. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Now, in the second part of our presentation, we plan to look at why pigeons are seen as pests nowadays and what is being done to control them. A lot of people in the city like to feed pigeons, don't they?
Yes, some people think that it's kind, but in fact, it's not a good idea.
I suppose human food isn't very healthy for birds, especially fast food.
Actually, because the pigeons don't have to spend time looking for food, they have more time to mate and reproduce. And so it results in population explosion.
I see. So the city becomes absolutely overrun by pigeons. That's bad for the city and for the pigeons. Now, I read that here in Melbourne, we have a pigeon problem in the centre of the city and the City Council is trying to deal with it.
Yes, they've built some special nesting places in one of the parks in the city centre. They're designed to house the pigeons so they stop creating nests on buildings.
But isn't that just changing the location of the problem?
Well, that's just the first step. In the second stage of the council scheme, they exchange the pigeon eggs for dummy eggs. It's like a form of birth control.
A very elaborate one. Someone would have to go in and replace those eggs by hand.
Well, yes. The program does work as a means of controlling the population, but the financial burden on the taxpayer is quite high.
Yes, I imagine it would be.
The most successful pigeon control program in recent times was in Basel in Switzerland.
And what did they do?
Well, the City Council found that teaching the public about the negative effects of feeding pigeons was more effective than trapping the pigeons, or providing alternative nesting sites for them. These were both methods they'd tried previously.
Really? We'll have to include that finding. Do you think we've got enough for our presentation, or should we do more research?
Well, I was thinking that we should also make it clear to the audience why pigeons in cities are undesirable.
Yes, we haven't really done that yet.
Right, I've got some information on the damage their droppings do to buildings.
And I've got something related to that on how their feathers can block gutters and pipes causing water damage.
But I haven't found anything yet on the health risks to humans that urban pigeons pose.
Neither have I. Let's look for some information about that and add it.
Okay, can we meet again tomorrow in the computer lab too?
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4 on page 7.
4. You will hear part of a lecture on organic farming. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hi everyone. What I'm going to talk about today is organic farming. Let's first look at what organic farming is. It can be defined as one or more systems of production which don't use synthetic fertilizers, man-made pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics or livestock feed additives to grow crops and raise animals. Virtually all organic farmers prefer to use renewable resources and recycling to give what conventional farmers might consider waste back to the soil of Mother Nature. From this, we can see organic farming is a sustainable production system, which is one of its advantages. Organic farmers use numerous techniques to promote the quality of life of plants and animals within existing ecosystems and minimize pollution that occurs with all conventional farming practices. Another benefit is that, with the increasing consumer demand for a healthier, more nutritionally balanced product, the sales of organically produced food are promoted. According to the research, it has become the fastest growing sector of agriculture and has shown an annual increase of at least 20% during the last 6 years. What's more, both chemical fertilizers and synthetic pesticides consume non-renewable resources such as oil and coal, but the development of organic farming can lower the demand for these fertilizers and pesticides, so it is conducive to the conservation of essential energy. At the same time, it also can reduce industrial pollution caused by the production of these chemical substances. Organic farming differs greatly from the traditional one in a number of ways. Let's discuss it from the perspective of agricultural biodiversity, firstly. For instance, earthworms are an important indicator of soil fertility. Studies have shown that the density and species number of earthworms in organically managed soils are 3 times as high as those in conventional fields. Moreover, the biodiversity in organic farming can also be reflected in the number of insects, which is twice as many as those in traditional farms. This might be highly related to the fact that organic vegetables are grown without any human-made pesticides, making these vegetables more likely to be damaged. The other main difference between organic and traditional farming lies in crop yields, one of the biggest concerns of organic farmers. Organic farms, though possibly well adapted for certain local environments, produce less food per unit of land. For example, organic vegetables like tomatoes and potatoes yielded are 40% less than conventional ones. In addition, research has also found the number of weeds produced in winter is about 90% at present, which has decreased by 10% than before. However, lower crop yields in organic farming are still inevitable at the moment. Anyway, organic farming is a new direction for agricultural development. These days, a variety of organic products are cultivated not only for humans but also for animals. For example, organic grass. It is commonly used in organic farms to feed cows. Because of the non-use of synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, it can protect cows from diseases brought by large-scale breeding, thus ensuring the quality of raw milk. But an interesting phenomenon is that its production has remained constant these years, which is quite unique compared with other types of crops. Research on organic farming has covered various aspects and involved many countries. According to one study, organic farming was proposed in India in the early 1960s when it was faced with acute shortages of food grains due to the ever-increasing population and natural disasters. Although it could not be applied successfully at first, as farmers had been familiar with conventional instructions, proponents of organic farming claimed that organic agriculture emphasized biodiversity and effective soil management could enhance the capacity to mitigate and even reverse the effects of climate change. So, India needed organic farming along with modern scientific agriculture. The study shows that in 2016, India became the country with the largest number of organic products, and the production of crops kept growing year on year. Another international review about organic farming presents in the first part that people today have become increasingly interested in organic food, and this opinion is quite the same as that of other articles. But what impressed me most was the volume of the investigation the author did in different countries. He conducted a survey in 99 countries, of which 66 are convinced that organic farming is beneficial to animals, while 8 hold the opposite opinion, and the remaining 25 say it is inconclusive. Therefore, the last part of the review is mainly talking about whether organic farming brings positive effects to animals. We can see there are different views about the advantages of organic farming. Some may think it can provide more nutritious and healthier food. Others may say it can protect the natural environment and benefit wildlife. However, as far as I'm concerned, it's you, the ones who buy organic products, that will decide what they can bring to you, because market demand determines everything. Okay, that's all I want to say. Now, let's open it up for discussion.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4.